Morning Year 5, it's Mrs Gibbons. Welcome to session 3 for reading. So today we are learning to write our own effective questions. So using the text from the beginning of the week, you are going to use the sentence stems that I'm going to model for you to write your own questions and answers about the text. Remember, it's really useful to keep referring back to the text to find the phrases or words that you can read around them. That will help you with your understanding. So the first example question stem that we're going to use is where you write a verb or adjective or adverb that means the same as a word that you give in your question. So I'm going to look in my text and try and find a word that I could use as my answer. So I'm going to look here. It says, if you turn towards the abbey, you might see a ghostly horse and carriage barreling towards you. So I feel that means running towards you, but I'm going to check. So I could look up barreling on an online thesaurus, and I can see that that does mean running. There's another way of sort of describing that motion. So I could say, write the verb in the text that means the same as running, and my answer would obviously be barreling. So you don't have to use a verb. It could be an adjective or an adverb. So let's have a look at the text. There are plenty of adjectives that you might want to use. Ghostly, desperately, etc. So there's adjectives you might choose an adverb, but you are basically using this stem where you write the verb, adjective or adverb that means the same as, and then you put a word in there and the answer would be something that they find in the text. So if you want to pause the video while you write your question and the answer, so don't forget to make sure you create the question but also the answer. So when you finish writing that first question and answer, unpause the video and we'll move on to number 2. Okay, question 2 is basically it's a retrieval question where the answer can be found directly in the text. Okay, so you go to the text, have a read through, see if you can create a question that someone else could answer by finding the information in the text. So again, if you look at your text, I've decided to write about I know that the horses will rear on their hind legs before disappearing from sight. So I'm going to turn that into a question and say, what will the horses do before disappearing from sight? And then the reader could look at that and think, well, the horses will rear on their hind legs before disappearing from sight. So that would obviously be the answer to that question. So for question number 2, I'll just move this out of the way if I can. You'll be writing a literal question where the answer is found in the text. So if you want to pause the video and write your question and the answer that goes with it now. Okay, so for question 3, the question stem that we're going to use this time is which word is closest in meaning to, and then you're going to use a word that you found in the text, and you're going to give 3 options for the reader to choose between. Okay, so I went through the text and I found a sentence about a bolted door. Okay, so I've written my question, which word is closest in meaning to bolted, and then I'm giving 3 possible answers. So the best way to do this is to give one which is obviously the correct answer and means exactly the same, so a synonym for the word bolted. Another option which is close in meaning but isn't quite right, and a third option which is totally the opposite. Okay, so if I were to look at my example, I said which word is closest in meaning to bolted when it was looking at a bolted door, and I've given closed, locked and open as my 3 possible answers. So the correct answer is locked. If something has been bolted, it cannot be opened without a key. So closed was my option that is quite close in meaning to it, because obviously it's similar, but if a door is closed, it could be opened. It's not being locked shut. And then open was obviously the opposite of bolted. Okay, so I've got my synonym, something that is close in meaning but not quite, and then also my word that means the opposite. So again, you're going to look through the text, choose a word, and then put that into your question. Which word is closest in meaning to the word you chose from the text, and then give your 3 options. So pause the video while you do that, and when you're ready to move on, you can press start again. Okay, question 4. We are going to be writing some true or false statements. Okay, so you're going to find 4 things in the text, 4 facts that you can make a statement with. And your task is to write 4 statements, some of which are true, some of which are false. Make sure you keep referring back to the text for each statement. And you can just change things ever so slightly when you're trying to make them false to make it tricky. So, for example, my first statement that I've made here is the church that the Phantom Coach visits is called St Margaret's. So actually it isn't St Margaret's, it's St Mary's. So I've just been a little bit sneaky and just changed one little detail of that statement. So if someone wasn't reading the text carefully, they might think, oh yeah, that's true, and they might tick true, but actually it would be false. So be very careful with when you write your questions. Maybe just change things ever so slightly to change the meaning. My second statement is the 199 steps are well known in Whitby. Well, if we just quickly flip back to the text, it says they are famous. So I'd say that statement is true, isn't it? If it's well known, it's famous. So your turn now, using that text, is to go through the text, make 4 statements, some of which are true, some of which are false, and then obviously fill in the table with your tick in the correct column. Okay, that's it for this session. So I'll be back tomorrow with session 4. Bye.